Today we are lucky to have Bruchy Moskowitz join us for this podcast episode. Bruchy is an LCSW who works in Brooklyn
and Tel Aviv.
And in Tel Aviv.
Yes, half and half now.
Wow, look at that. And so she specializes both in psychedelic assisted treatment, but also a lot of psychodrama and family dynamic work. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do and what your passion is?
Sure. So it's always fun when we get to redo this. You know, before we start with the podcast, we speak a little bit, but now I get the joy of speaking it to both of you and then to whoever is listening. So first, hello to whoever is listening. I'm grateful that you're taking this time and making space for yourself, listening to this podcast. And what I shared earlier is there's many letters and titles after my name. There's LCSW, which is Licensed Clinical Social Worker, CCLS, which is Certified Child Life Specialist. And like you mentioned, I do psychedelic assisted therapy, psychodrama, and family work, couples work. But really, you know, the essence of it all is that I am in this role of psychotherapist and being able to watch people, watch my fellow humans, achieve the freedom that they want to achieve the life that they want to achieve. And it comes in all sorts of forms. So that's what I get to do on the daily. It's really an honor.
Yeah. There is something, you know, just so nice about like tapping into humankind and like recognizing like we're all in this together, right? It's not like, you know, us as the professionals and the client is the one who's struggling. Like there's a back and forth and it's an exchange.
Yes. I learn so much from every single client that walks through my door. You know, after every session, after every day, and sometimes I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
I say this a lot. Any one of my clients who are listening will hear this. I say people travel all over the world to experience moments of awe. You know, think of going to the Swiss Alps, think of being in the Sahara Desert, right? It's awe. And I say, all I have to do is come into my office. And that's what I see sitting on the couch and the children I work with, the families.
Yeah.
And I travel too. So I get both, but nothing really compares to the awe of having the treat of being able to look with someone into their own mind and into their own life.
Yeah. So. And also, you know, just like the amazement of human connection, of seeing another person's inner world and story and feeling that connection. You know, you can be in the Sahara Desert or you can be in the Swiss Alps, but it's not as amazing as being there with somebody else who you care for and who you enjoy their company.
Yeah. It's special work.
Yeah.
It's sacred work. Yeah.
So why don't we jump right in and talk about like what psychodrama is, what it looks like, and who it helps?
Sure. So psychodrama, first, what it is. It's a therapy modality that focuses not only on talking, right? It's beyond talk therapy. It involves the whole body and action. So I'll give an example. If you're wanting to work through a difficult situation with a friend of yours, let's say, right? So you can come into therapy and we can talk about it and we can have insights and all of that. Or I can say, your friend Shauna is sitting right here.
I was thinking of a name, but then I didn't want to say it out loud because they might be listening.
Right? But
so there's no Shauna. You're not friends.
I don't think I have a Shauna friend. I do.
Shout out to all the Shaunas.
Yes.
You know. But we would say, let's say, and just jumping right into it, right? So if Shauna was sitting right here, what would you want to say to her? And we would jump right into it. And often what comes out then with the image of the person sitting in front of you is a lot more intense and deep and to the point than if you were using different functions of your brain to explain to me what's going on and what's coming up for you.
So I have a question on that, right? Why would we put her in the chair rather than you becoming Shauna?
Me as a therapist.
Yeah, meaning saying, I'm Shauna, talk to me as if I'm Shauna, rather than saying Shauna is sitting right next to me.
Yeah, so for the most part, the reason why we do that is because myself as the clinician or whoever is the person facilitating, it's important that that role stay very clear so that I can direct, right? Back and forth. There are times where we will reverse roles, right? Where you'll become Shauna and Shauna will be, sitting here as you. So that's a very important piece, that the clinician, the facilitator remains the facilitator so that the rest of the stuff can happen. And then there's also a very important piece of when I say to you, picture your friend sitting right here, whether you like it or not, your brain is configuring a vision, a visual of this person sitting right here. In order to do that, we need a level of compassion. We need a level of going back in time, going forward in time. So without even thinking about it, we're activating some incredible parts of our brain. And when those parts of the brain are working, it's like the oil is flowing. It's greased up. And the work, I always say when I do psychodrama, it's years of training, and I'm still in training and always learning so much, but I get to witness. I'm facilitating, I'm using my intuition to know when to do what and when to switch things up. But I watch a person really doing what they know how to do. And it's a gift. And if I'm experiencing it as such magic, imagine the person who's the client in that moment. And I know this because part of psychodrama training is you sit in psychodrama groups. I've sat in psychodrama groups hours and hours and hours. My first therapist was a psychodrama therapist, and I had the gift of experiencing that. So it's really leaving that session and being like, wow, I did not know I was capable of that. I did not know I had that going on inside, and I've released it. So that's just a little snippet of what it would look like. The reason why I gravitated towards psychodrama in the first place is, as a therapist, something that I contend with a lot is that balance of trauma-oriented, deep work of going in, kind of the scuba diving of psychotherapy. And I contend that with the fact that our clients, when they leave the office, they're living their lives. They need to know how to swim as well, right? So there's scuba diving, there's going down, there's looking at all of the facets of trauma, but then they're out in the world, and you gotta know.
Yeah, they need to function.
Yes, right? So psychodrama is one of those modalities that, and there are many, but psychodrama is one of them that ties it together really, really beautifully. When we're in a session in deep psychodrama, we're acting things out. You are fully in the scuba diving experience. You're in the deep recesses of your mind. But then to close a session, we don't just say, all right, done, right? Now we use the fictitious friend. But if someone's coming in and really struggling with their mother, their father, their siblings, deep, intense relationships, someone who has abused them, we don't just end. That's where the skills come out. How do you end a conversation? How do you regulate after having gone so deep? And those skills, practicing it in the therapy room, allows you afterwards to be like, oh, I know how to do that. I know how to have a really intense, deep experience and then regulate. I know how to tolerate saying things out loud that I don't want to say because you did it in the room. Right. You did it in psychodrama. You practiced it.
Right.
So that's really one of the big draws for me for psychodrama. It allows a client to go deep in and then also to function, to teach themselves how to function, to learn how to function. So it's a beautiful modality.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really appreciate like that balance of like depth, but then also like the practical, because I think like sometimes people veer on either side of like either like skills and just disregard the inner world, or the opposite of like, deep, but then it's like you're not functioning and you might go into a deep depression or panic and, having trauma reactions. And it really needs to be one foot in, one foot in the other.
Yes. Yeah. And today I do want to give the podcast listeners an opportunity to experience some of that and to also learn some skills, some psychodrama skills that they can take with them right away. That's something that, again, not everyone is in therapy. And there are many people who don't need therapy. They're fine. They're doing okay. Many people who need therapy but are not, and for many reasons. Be it an internal blockage, be a thought about money being a blockage. There are many reasons why people who may need therapy or not in therapy. And psychodrama is something that if you read about it and listen about it, you can do a lot of it by yourself, which today we'll talk about some of that. And I want to also shout out a lot of other techniques and modalities that people can do without therapy. I'm saying if for some reason you need therapy and you're not in therapy, it's not an all or nothing.
Right.
When I have a wait list and I put clients on the wait list, when they call, I'll usually tell them, if there's a month wait or a month and a half wait, in the interim, there are things that you can do. There are things that we can do that are so therapeutic in our day-to-day lives. Things like meditation, things like journaling, spending time in nature, listening to comedy, speaking to a friend every day, doing an act of kindness to another person. These things are research-based to really do something for us. And often part of the reason why people come to therapy because they know all this,
right,
and they're not doing it, which of course a therapist can help with that.
So why don't we start practicing, even here, some of those things, where you said let's show it, there's telling and then there's showing. And maybe we can do some of that showing of what psychodrama might look like.
I'm going inward for a moment to kind of see, because, I do want to honor, we're not going to go deep into any of your boundaries remain safe. This isn't a therapy session. Well, the first thing that comes to mind is, go ahead, what were you going to say? I'm putting a pin in my thought, it's still here.
Okay. I kind of wonder, because I can think of some things obviously my deeper stuff I'm not going to bring out on the table. But, let's say something, would it work with something as small as let's say every time I go on a plane, I get nervous. Or I think that every single person on a plane is a terrorist. Is that the type of
are those feelings that you're sometimes?
Those are all the time.
Since when?
Since when? I mean,
I feel like let's jump straight into it right now.
No, why not?
Let's double right now. 2 people on one.
Oh gosh, I'm intimidated here. 2 therapists on one.
When you said double, the technique of doubling in psychodrama?
No.
Okay, we'll talk about it in a moment. But I thought you.
No, I don't know psychodrama at all.
Okay.
Yeah, it's quite new for us. Always I think I watched a lot of movies when I was a kid. Just about Entebbe or whenever there was terrorist attacks on and then 9/11, right? I was a kid when 9/11 happened. And so even though I will push myself to go on that plane, and I've come up with techniques of what I do in the airport to be okay, what I do on the plane. Sometimes I'll take off my lenses or glasses and I'm I won't sit by the terminal itself. I'll sit a little bit farther out, just so that way I don't see who's on my plane, because anyone could become a terrorist.
What's the ultimate fear? Is death?
Pain. Because death is saying once you're dead, you're dead. Kind of. I mean, to be not so.
You're back.
I think it's just that feeling of being with a terrorist and how it plays out in the movies of I need to save, right, the terror of the terrorist of I need to save the plane, or I need to watch to make sure is everyone okay on the plane, to protect of well, what if somebody doesn't notice, if they take something out of their bag, all straight out of movie scenes, where there's where they take over the plane, when they're changing of the pilots, things like that.
No, because I don't.
You don't watch as much.
I didn't grow up with it.
I did watch those movies. But I don't have that trauma.
No,
I'm sorry.
And it's funny because I think some people have the fear a little bit differently, where they'll have the fear of turbulence. I'm fine with the turbulence. I'm not scared of crashing or falling. I think it's just the fear of people taking over the plane.
Yeah, I can see how watching those movies as a child can be really traumatizing.
It can really go in any direction once it's media that's in the mind. It's fascinating what the mind will do. But and here a shout out to the fact that I grew up without a screen in the house, at least not a screen that the kids had access to. So that's good, But as an adult, even we experience something, and something like this can happen. So let's play with this a little bit. Thank you for that example. So here I'll tell you psychodramatically some directions that we can go in, and you'll intuitively tell me which one you want to play with. One of them is we can do IFS work with it, to play a little with some of the parts that are coming up. Because with psychodrama and IFS, we have beautiful play with the parts, and there's back and forth. We could do some work directly with the situation that you're afraid might happen. I'm really curious what your mind, because the mind is such a beautiful artist. It is so intricate. I love watching the mind. That's the gift of meditation, to just have time to be wow, mind, tell me, show me the heartbeat of you, and so there's that we can do. And then there's I would play with the terrorist that you've played up. As you're speaking it, I can feel it in the room. So I would play with that. So what are you feeling more? IFS, situation?
I'm like, let's do everything.
All right, let's start.
I'm like, get this fear out of me. Like, I want to go on planes all the time.
Yeah, and the fear. What's your relationship with the fear? Like, is it only when you're flying? Do you not fly a lot because of it?
I can add one more thing here. Knowing Shira, I would also be curious to like what comes up for you to stop you from this fear, because you fly a lot. So to answer that question for you,
I do fly.
You fly a lot.
Yeah.
So what skills or what part is taking over so that way you can break that barrier and fly? Because something's working on an overdrive,
right,
to allow you, because you're going on that trip no matter what.
I don't like being stopped. I don't like stopping myself. So this is something that can really stop me, and I'm like at the epitome of fear. But I'm like, I'm not letting this control my life.
Wow. Yeah. So knowing you, there's like, I feel like there could be a lot of work there too.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely an overdrive. It's a good word to use.
And what's also really interesting for me as you're saying this is I'm like, wow, Shira has never had an experience of flying.
Meaning?
You've had experiences of fighting through
a plane,
the portal from place 1 to place 2.
Right.
I don't know that you've ever even seen a plane. It's always been through the lens of
watching it.
Yeah. This is the flow and
Should I go into a little bit?
No, not yet. My clients are used to this. There are moments of my brain working, and they know that's a moment of meditation. But we can't. I'm saying not to cut you off, but like it's not as though I don't know what's happening.
I'm like, let's cut to the chase. Get this out of me, like.
Yeah, tell me about the this that you want out of you. This is the fear?
I feel like I'm so skilled up in this area where it's like, okay, so if the flight is during the day, I do a lot better because then it's light on the plane and it's not like at night, because at night, like I feel like everyone's sleeping. So that way, like I can like let go a little bit more because there's other people that'll find the terrorists too.
Does it pass at all, or you'd have this constant fear for 13 hours?
It
comes and goes. Sometimes it's worse. It depends how tired I am.
The fear is your current coping skill for getting through flying. Interestingly.
Well, it's keeping you on the alert, right?
It gets you through. And again, this is all logical up here. Let's invite, I should have said we need more cheers for all the parts that come up with psychodrama, but we can create a cheer in our mind. So there's a cheer right next to you. Do you see it? What color is it?
Well, it's either gray or beige because that's the color of the airplane.
Yeah, but you see it. So what's the cheer next to you? Claim it. Claim a color.
Gray.
It's like gray. Yes. Okay. Is it big, small? Like
you might as well fly first class.
Yeah, I was going to say like economy or business. Or
yeah,
first.
Of course. Yeah, we're going all. This is.
Yeah, might as well fly first class. And you're good.
Yeah. So this is first class, but
interestingly enough, like I feel safe in first class
and
business
class.
There's
less people
because there's less people and I can't watch as much, and it's also like no, like the stewardess are like protecting us.
So. Have the seat next to you.
Yeah, so it's gray.
It's gray.
I would say economy class.
Economy class.
Yeah, that's where it comes up the most.
Yeah, and let's have like a couple. You're sitting here in the aisle seat, and then there's 4 seats here, okay? And the 4, we'll see what they fill up with.
Right.
Because we're going to play. So the first seat next to you, this terrorist that you've created, what's their name? Give them a random name.
So each time it's different. It's kind of hard because like I used to say, oh, it's not a woman, because women would never, like a woman can't blow up a plane. But then
women
like,
have come a long way.
Right, but then in some movies, like the woman is the terrorist too. So I used to like feel like it's just like a man, but now it's like it could be anybody, and I think that's even scarier. There's no way of knowing like who is and who isn't, and what's like, you know, anxious behavior versus like shady behavior. So it just like messes with my mind of like my mind is trying to make categories. And it doesn't work because it knows that it's completely wrong, which is I think makes the fear even stronger. And there's more people to watch then. But the person is, I don't even know, because it's just like when I think of the person, it's like this mixture of like an everything. Like it could be anyone and everything.
An amorphic blob of a person.
Exactly.
All right, lovely. Yeah. We can work with that. So, and next to this person is you on a plane, right? Because here we have Shira here now, but then we have you on a plane. You look a little different. Yeah. You act a little different. Maybe we all have different versions of ourselves. The version that's on a plane is different than the version who's sitting here in this space, right? So let's you tell us just what she looks like in one sentence. What's her vibe? What's her...
I think by the time I'm sitting, I'm like looking around, like watching everybody's behavior, like a lot of like observing. I'm getting nervous even as I'm sitting here. I'm like,
tell me where.
Oh
That's
I'm
lovely.
getting nervous.
Good.
Like I can't breathe as much.
You feeling it here?
In my chest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anything here?
Not so much in my stomach, just like more of like in my breathing, like here. Yeah. Like it's harder to breathe. Yeah. So I'm looking around. I'm trying to distract myself a bit. Like, maybe I'll start like tapping or, doing that, and I get frustrated that it's not working. Where I'm just like, okay, I'm tapping to like distract myself, but like it's not doing anything to me. I'm like, trying to see like maybe I could read a book on the plane or like see if I can download something to read. I'm not talking to anybody because if I'm talking, it distracts me. So I don't want to be distracted because in case something happens, I have to respond.
All right, I got you. So we have this. So why don't you start speaking to the terrorists? It's been years that you've been waiting for this opportunity.
Can you just go to sleep so I know you're not a terrorist?
Same one.
Or can you leave the plane because I really need to get to where I want to get to, and I also want to go to sleep because I'm really tired. Yeah, that's what I want to tell him.
Okay. So now, I don't know if we would reverse roles. Okay. And I would have you be the terrorist for a second. Can you imagine that? Sitting on that chair, being the terrorist for a moment?
Okay.
How old are you?
Middle-aged.
Middle-aged? How old?
Like 40.
You're 40? How did you become a terrorist? What an interesting career choice.
Either angry at the world or just religious values. Like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing with my life path.
Wow. And so you're on this plane and planning to
do what's right.
Yeah.
And nothing's going to get into my way. Like,
that was my next question.
You can't talk me out of this because this is just what I've been told is the right thing to do.
Yeah. So let's say this Shira person is next to you talking and telling you like, please don't kill me, or something. Like, it doesn't. It's like,
why would I care?
Yes.
Meaning, like, that's exactly what I want.
Like,
so the more fear, the better.
So she can read a book or not read a book. She can be awake or asleep. It doesn't matter.
No, I have an agenda.
Nothing she does matters. Wow. All right. And in terms of picking the flight, how did you decide this one was the one to go on?
No. Good question. Maybe it had the least security.
Wow.
Maybe this airport had the least security. Like, they don't check as much.
Wow. Okay. So basically what I'm getting is nothing that Shira does, like, she has no control over your actions at all.
Nothing, no.
Zero.
No, I'm well connected. The guy who helped me get the stuff on, like, I have a lot of collaborators. The airport and, those men who hold like all the yellow things and, maybe the guy who's bringing the meals, the whole thing, like everybody's in on this.
Wow. Oof.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for, in all of this busyness, taking the time to converse with us and share a little bit about, the inner workings. And may peace be with you. And, if you can, may peace be with you, whatever that looks like for you. Okay, so now Shira D-roll. I'm not the terrorist. I'm Shira. Do that. Say it.
Oh, D-roll. I'm not the therapist.
I'm not the terrorist.
I'm not
the terrorist. In this moment,
the therapist is the terrorist. I am not the terrorist.
Okay.
Wow, that was like a Freudian slip, maybe.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm picking up so many things that we're going to talk about afterwards. Wow.
Right? Yeah. First, we're going to continue this. How was that for you? In just one sentence?
No. Meaning, yeah, that's true. That's exactly what he would say. And still scared of him.
In the movies that you've watched, was there someone who stopped the terror? Like, what was the story of how the terror?
They always tried, but they never won. Yeah, like, right. They never.
Did you read the Hardy
succeeded.
Boys terrorist book? Because we were saying something that reminded me of that book.
No, it was always like 9/11 type of movies,
Entebbe.
or like Entebbe, where like they really succeeded in their plans.
Yeah.
Or like the plane exploded at a certain point. Like the passengers weren't able to like It wasn't a happily ever after, like Cinderella story.
Not. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And this whole idea, and we're going to get back to it in a second, right? The terrorist, boils down a little bit more to anxiety of the fact that there are so many things in this world that we cannot control.
Yep.
Right?
Story of my life.
So if we don't focus on the terrorist is all the anxieties.
Interesting.
Just want to like be free from all these like different thoughts that are chaining us down.
Yeah, definitely. I want freedom from that terrorist too.
So clearly what this is telling us that the outside terrorist fictitiously, because here's where we can play with statistics. I don't need to, the statistics. It's highly unlikely that that's how you die. The terrorist on the plane is your anxiety.
Yeah.
You have experienced terror attacks on every single plane that you've been on.
True.
You survived every one of them. You're here to tell the tale. You could be the person who has the highest record of terrorist attacks that she's survived. Because every single time you walked on a plane, you have experienced the terror attack of your own anxiety.
Right.
For 5 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours, you're now going away for Pesach. We're looking at 12 hours of terror.
Yeah.
So this is really interesting because as you think of this now, what is this terrorist morphing into? What does your anxiety really look like?
So the real terrorist, what does it look like? It's just like it's taking up way too much space. Like it's like, like sometimes like they, like if you're sitting next to somebody who's taking up the whole seat and like they're squishing you, and there's like no room, and it's like, can I share the armrest?
And what does it look like, this anxiety terrorist? Shape, color, I know shape. It's so big. And then what is it? Color.
It's funny because like I don't see it as like an individual. I see it more as like a group. Like it's a bunch. Like it's not just one. It's like a bunch. All of a sudden I'm like, I feel so much shame.
You do.
But only at this point now, where I'm just like, okay, just like get over it. Like go on a plane and like it's fine. Like if there's a terrorist, like there's a terrorist. There's nothing you can do. Like just like move on from this and like don't be scared of it and don't let this like take over your life.
Wow. What color is your shame, by the way? White. Pristine white or like scary white? Like white's about
like ghost white.
Ghost white. Yeah. And I don't know about you, but when shame shows up, it usually tells us like you hit the nail on the head. Yeah. And when we hit the nail on the head, like, with therapy or with a therapy technique, it means when we work a little bit more over there, it expands, and shame is like, no, I don't. We haven't touched it in years. Like, let's
don't go there. Yeah.
Shame. Hi, shame. I love when shame shows up. I think it's such an adorable part. I've communicated with my shame. She's so cute.
It's like Casper the friendly ghost.
So sweet, right?
Maybe.
Like, hi, Shamey. What's up?
Right.
And
like,
psychodramatically, here's where and then for me, I do psychodrama so often. I visualize so often. Like if I close my eyes, I see it. But in psychodrama, we would say, have shame sit in one of the seats. Like, hi, welcome. You have arrived. Right. So you need, it's a ghost, so maybe it doesn't need something, but would you like a drink? Like, hi, like, welcome. You're here anyway. Like, I'm going to be a nice host.
Right.
We're on a mission together. It's no longer a terror mission. Now you're on a mission every time you're on a plane to see who you could smile to. You're now on a terror of kindness. Like, wow, like this is so many opportunities of this. And this is with every single other internal terrorist, be it, right, community, this community makes me feel. No one is making nothing, right? When we elevate, you bring light to whatever community, family, person, friend, was holding you in that way. And if it doesn't, you know where to go. Go where your light is allowed to shine. But when we remember, it's all here within. If that isn't freedom.
I think a lot about like inner critic or like even, when we talk about negative self-talk, but I've never framed it in the way of inner terrorist.
Yeah.
And that's something like, it's almost like, wow, like I identified a new part that I didn't even know was there.
Yes. Through the use of what you've experienced through other people, right? Because all of it was your projections, but now you're like, I'm ready to hold it.
Mm-hmm.
You're ready today.
I don't need to place it on a person.
Exactly.
Wow.
This was, like I said, this is awe and magic in the making.
Right.
Like,
if you would have explained that to me, I would have been like, no, like, but now going through it, it's, wow, so much came out of it.
Yes.
It's such a different experience.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. No, thank you. Yeah, you might have changed like my flying forever.
I hope so. Flying is such a gift. I hope that you really, I mean, I know that you will. And when these things happen, it's there, it's already happening. So I know that it has, but I'm excited to watch and hear, how this plays out for you. I'm excited for you to witness and be a part of the journey of reclaiming that. So
is this usually what it feels like for someone who's sitting with you and going through a psychodrama session? Like, is this like, there's like this aha that comes up afterwards?
That's the hope for the most part. Sometimes sessions are more like laying the ground if someone is very new to it, so other times it's like, I say, don't expect any ahas, but typically in flow, the ahas happen then or after. Like the client will come back the next session, or in between will be like, this is really, I didn't even think of this. After you sleep tonight, you might like the sleep cycle also. Yeah, the sleep cycle makes a difference with it as well. And I always say, after doing anything psychodramatically, be extra kind to yourself. Like internal stuff in your brain has actually shifted. Like this is, there's a lot of research on the neuroscience behind psychodrama and action methods. So such as the visualization that we did. So your brain, there are shifts now that happened. So honor that. Drink extra water, sleep extra well tonight, journal a bit. But you're changed now, and in a way that supports you better. So that's freedom.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Right, just to have like that freedom, like from that anxiety.
Yes.
I'm really excited for it, actually.
Yes, and the freedom to play with it at the very least. The freedom to play with it and to say I'm an active participant in the story.
Yeah. It's also like wow, like I've been doing this for like a bunch of years. Like this is a part of me for a bunch of years. There's been like, I'm like now visualizing like, oh, there's bombs inside my head, like, terrorists, and like there's weapons inside there. And it's like, no, there's no like TSA for our minds. Yes. And I need to be that.
Yes, because you really get to. And your mind wants you to. Like,
right. It doesn't like it, right? It's not a pleasant experience. It wants to just like fly and be completely okay.
And that's how it's supposed to be.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's it's real, but it's not real.
And this is also where I would use art, right? So something like this, I would perhaps invite the client to first on one side of the sheet draw or paint or create, and you can do this later, what your brain looked like before you had this visualization, and then create a portal, and now what you would like for it to look like.
Like the evolution of it all.
Yes, and what that would look like once you're working on this TSA process in your own brain, or whatever metaphors you want to use, what it looks like. The soothingness of it, and is it more pink? Is it more flowery? Is it more, stewardesses coming and serving you like it's a different experience? And you get to create that as well. So there's so much to do with it and so much to play with it. But the freedom is already there. I can see it.
Yeah.
Your eyes look different as you're thinking of it and speaking of it.
No, I feel different. I'm like, when I think of the plane, I'm like, oh, I'm not as scared now, because like I feel like I have more control over what might happen in my mind then.
And you have a mission.
Right.
It's not even so much that you have that too, but it's you have a mission now. This introduction to the part is inviting you to say, well, the part is saying, will you play with me? Right? The terrorist that you had envisioned before, no one could help him. No one could help him in that moment shift and get away from his intention to destroy. But the terrorist inside your brain is such a malleable part that is waiting for you to help me. This is not, no one likes to do that kind of work, neither do our parts, but the part is saying, like, help me. And that conversation you had in that space, that was a fist bump. That was like, all right, we got this.
Right.
Lovely.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Yes.
I mean, this is like, I'm really, really looking forward to trying this out, and also just
to doing it. Remember that word, try.
Right, not the trying.